Hey tribe, we are back. This is going to be an excellent video. And sometimes I say this, if this is the only video you watch of mine, this is the video, because we're going to talk about why do good people always finish last, my friends. Okay, how many of you out there really struggle with this? Including ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, me. Like, why does it seem like, no, I'm being funny, but let's honest, I'm being 100% honest at the same time, is why does it feel like the more good I am, I always come in last? It kind of seems like the more ethical I try to be, the more I want to do the best thing for people, the more I want to have great morals, things are slow as hell. You know what I mean? It sounds like, it really feels like I'm a turtle in the race and I'm the last one. Okay? Do you feel like that? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Why do good people finish last? And of course, what we're going to do is I'm going to spin it two ways. I'm going to spin it on the manifesting side, and I'm going to spin it on the success side. But this is how special this video is they both have a very, very unique, but a very, very strong point that I want you to walk away with. Because this video right here might just change your life, my friends. So other than that, let's get rocking and rolling. And right out of the box here is we're thinking about why do good people finish last? Let me spin it really fast for you. Think about this one. Good people don't finish last, unboundaried people do. Isn't that great? Just think about that while we go through this video. And of course, I got two screens going on, so let's get rock and rolling. Now, think about this. Good people don't finish last, unboundary people do. So what am I talking about here? Now, number one here, what we have to understand is good often means self-abandoning. So when we think about, good people always finish last. Why do I always finish last? Is listen to this. Good, when we say we're good, we're nice, we're kind, lots of times that word means self-abandoning, my friends. So what do I mean by that? Listen very closely. Most people will say, I'm a good person, but it really means I avoid conflict. I don't want to hurt anyone. I give more than I ask. I tolerate things longer than I should. How many of us are guilty of that? You understand, this is like probably the video of Chad right here, okay? And what we have to understand is this isn't goodness, my friends. Listen, that's fear dressed up as virtue. Isn't that true? That's fear dressed up as virtue. Okay, we think there's something, we think it's like virtue. We think we're good or moral and ethical when we don't have standards or boundaries in our life. We don't enforce our standards or boundaries. You understand what I'm saying? Let me read this real quick. We think it's virtue when I avoid conflict, I run around it, I don't face fears, I don't face conflict. You know what I mean? We think there's something good or kind about it. Okay, we think, I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings if they overstep my boundary. So we think there's something good in that because I don't say anything. You understand? And the best one is, and the last two are really, I give more than I ask. I'm guilty of that. I always give more than I ask. Okay, but when people overstep my boundaries, standards and boundaries, I think there's something like moral and ethical about it. Like, it's like virtue, like I'm pleasing God because I'm giving more than I ask for. Okay. And the best one is I tolerate things longer than I should. I mean, how many of you do this? You tolerate things way more longer than you should. I think the biggest complaint with people is you go to work, you have a boss you hate because your boss verbally abuses you. You've been putting up with it for years. Okay, you tolerate things more than you should. You think you should get rewarded by God because you put up with it. This is kind of where the video might piss you off a little bit. I'm just being honest with you. So listen, when you keep choosing peace over truth, you train your world how to treat you. Number two, the world rewards clarity, not kindness. Listen, my friends, your world rewards clarity, not kindness. It doesn't matter how kind you are. It doesn't matter how nice you are. Okay. It doesn't matter any of that. It matters how clear you are. So what do I mean by that? You see, reality doesn't respond to how nice you are. It responds to your standards, your decisions, your boundary, and your consistency. This is why I just brought up your standards, boundaries, and non-negotiables. Okay. Most of the time when we struggle with the nice syndrome, the Mr. Nice Guy, well, I'm good. Why do I finish last? Why do I feel that way? Is the common denominator in all of this is that either you don't have standards and boundaries and non-negotiables in your life, or if you say you do, which most people say they do, but they don't enforce them. You don't enforce your standards, boundaries, and non-negotiables because you, for some reason, you kind of wrestle with that feeling. Okay, maybe you're scared to do it. Okay. Or maybe you think like, well, if I put up with it, no, I'm pleasing to God and God's going to bless me. But that's not how the universe works. Okay. Listen, your world responds to your level of standards, your level of decisions you make, your level of boundaries, and how consistent you are upholding your standards of boundaries and non-negotiables. Okay, that's how all this ties together. Listen, you can be kind and firm. You understand? You can be both. You can be kind. You can be a nice guy. You can be a wonderful guy. Okay, but you can be firm at the same time. Meaning that if someone crosses your standards and boundaries, you're bringing it up. Okay, you're not having a mental breakdown. You're just politely bringing it up because they know they've overstepped with you. So you can be kind and firm at the same time, but what most people do is they choose kindness instead of being firm. That's what most people do, my friends. Okay, they don't do both. They choose one or the other, but most of the time they choose kindness. Okay, and listen, if you're doing that, that's the moment you lose leverage. That's the moment you lose leverage with success, and that's the moment you lose leverage with manifesting. Listen, number 3 here is good people delay decisions. How does decisions work in this area? Okay. Good people delay decisions. This is huge because they wait because I don't want to upset anybody. Do you do that? You delay your decisions you want to make for your life because you don't want to upset anybody. You don't want to upset your parents. You don't want to upset your significant other. That's a huge one because most of us are always in some type of relationship. Okay. You don't want to upset your friends. You don't want to upset your best friend. You don't want to upset your coworkers or your boss. So you delay decisions. You wait because you think, well, let me think about it. That's a popular line by the Chad here. Okay, someone asked me what to do. Oh, let me think about it. Let me think about it for a second. Let me think about it for half a day. Okay, because when you say let me think about it, now there's sometimes you can sit here and say, I really have to think. Maybe it's a big decision, but most of the time you know what you want right away. Okay, you kind of let fear kick in, and it's kind of a stall mechanism in you, where you're stalling because you don't want to make the decision. You're kind of hoping they'll forget. So you say, let me think about it. You understand? We might play this one if you have kids. How many of you do this when you have kids? They come up with a question. You don't want to say no because you want to say no, but you say, well, let me think about it. And you hope they forget because they're kids. This is the same game you play with adults. You delay your decisions because I'll give it more time. Okay, meaning like you're sitting in the junk, you basically wait. Let me wait to see if it gets better, rather than they're crossing a standard and boundary, rather than you enforcing a standard and boundary. You're sitting there saying, well, let me wait to see if it gets better. Let me wait to see if this situation improves, rather than just make a decision right now to do something. Now let's flip it around here. Meanwhile, while you're sitting on the fence trying to make a decision, the most successful person, that most successful version of you that's decisive, what would they do? You see, decisive people move, and movement compounds. Isn't that so true? When you're very, very decisive, they have an intuition to do something, they just make a decision to do it and they move. And movement is action, and action actually compounds. They're not sitting on the fence. And this is what you really have to understand. Life doesn't punish good people. Life is not punishing you, okay? Life doesn't punish good people, okay? But what is it doing? It bypasses the hesitant. All life is doing is bypassing you because you're sitting on the fence. Okay, when we talk about decisions here, you're sitting on the fence. Okay, you're not making a decision either way. Okay, listen, guys. I know a lot about this. I know a lot about this material right here in this video. Okay, because I grew up very, very indecisive. Because when I grew up, okay, I grew up by an overbearing parent. That was my dad. You did what he wanted you to do. He made all the decisions for you as long as you lived in his household. So what that means is I'm 20 years old, living at home because I'm going back and forth to college. He planned your day. He made decisions for you. Okay, you didn't override dad. Okay, you did what you was told to do. Understand? So when I grew up, okay, when I got out of college, graduated college, and lived on my own and got a job and all that jazz, dude, I was very indecisive. Now I was thrown into the wolves. I had to learn this stuff. I didn't learn it by my parents and growing up. I had to learn it, out in the real world. So you're talking to somebody that grew up very, very indecisive, sat on the fence when I needed to make a decision. I'm kind of basically sitting on the fence because I don't know which way to go. I'm trying to figure out what's best for Chad. Then all the while I'm sitting on the fence, life is passing me by, baby. You understand? Success is passing me by, baby. Manifesting my dreams is passing me by, baby. We haven't even got the manifesting yet because I'm sitting on the fence. Listen, success in manifesting, it rewards clarity. It rewards decisions. It rewards, exactly what you want, my friends. You have to understand this. Now, number 4 is, how does this twist into manifesting? Okay, because the first half of the video, we're kind of really talking about success. I didn't really twist it so much in manifesting. But now, how does it respond to manifesting when we say, good people always finish last? And this one's going to shock you, okay, especially for my manifesting crowd, okay? Listen, number 4, the manifestation angle. Listen, manifestation responds to self-respect, not morality. Holy crap. When you're trying to manifest something, it responds to your self-respect. It doesn't respond to morals you have. It doesn't respond to ethics. It doesn't respond to how good you are, if you're a good person, not a good person, if you help people or not. It doesn't respond to that. It responds within. It responds to your own self-respect you have. And that self-respect, listen, is tied to your standards, boundaries, and non-negotiables that you have around your life. Okay, before we move on, have you ever heard that you manifest on your lowest standards? You manifest on what you put up with in life. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest on a level of what you tolerate. That's what I'm talking about here. I want you to listen to this very, very closely here. Listen. If your inner state says, I'll accept less so others are comfortable, well, guess what your reality does? Your reality echoes less, okay? Because you're putting out less. That's the energy you're putting out. That's the thought you're putting out. So that has to come back to you, okay? But the opposite is true also. If your inner state says, I will not betray myself, meaning I will uphold my standards and boundaries. If someone crosses it, I will uphold my non-negotiables. I will not betray myself. I will not betray my standards and boundaries. Okay, I will not betray my non-negotiables. I will stand up for myself. Guess what? That mirrors back to yourself. Reality adjusts, my friends. Not because you're aggressive, not because you're being mean, but because you're clear. You understand that. You're very, very clear and decisive. You know what you want. You know what you stand for, and you don't bend. You understand? Listen, once your subconscious mind knows that you're going to bend, once your subconscious mind knows you're going to back up, okay, once the pressure gets to you, once the heat gets too hot, you're going to back up. Well, listen, you don't manifest here. You manifest where you back up to. You understand? You don't manifest up here, you manifest back here because you backed up. Okay, that's what it means. You manifest on what you tolerate in life. Now, number 5 here, this is the real truth, more of the walk away. You see, most good people are secretly hoping. Are you secretly hoping this? If I'm patient enough, life will notice. How many of you, including myself, is guilty of this? If I'm patient enough, life will notice. If I'm patient enough and endure enough, God will notice. Okay, if I put up with enough, if I'm nice enough, kind enough, okay, if I'm ethical enough, I have morals enough, God's going to notice. God's going to bless me. Okay, it has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with your religious background, my friends. But it has all to do, again, what I said, with self-respect. Okay, and your self-respect is tied to your standards and boundaries and non-negotiables. And that's tied to what you really want in life, how you want your life to go. On a manifesting side, you want your dream house, dream car, career. Okay, then it gets flipped where this is what I'm going to put up with. Okay, I'm not going to put up with people talking down to me because I show respect to you. I take it you show respect to me. If you don't show respect to me, I'm going to talk to you about it. Okay, I'm not going to let it surpass. I'm not going to have a mental breakdown over it. I'm not going to go and talk to 20 of my friends about it, go home and talk to my significant other about it, you know what I mean? And kind of manipulate around it. And what you have to understand is life doesn't notice, life mirrors. We've talked a lot about this in other videos. Life is just a mirror, okay? Your 3D world right now is just a mirror of what's inside of you. It's just a mirror, okay? If you let people walk on you, well, that's what's going to be shown to you in your 3D world. It's just a mirror of your standards and boundaries, my friends. Okay, this is really a hard concept to get. Okay, this is a video you might have to listen to several times. And like I said, and what it mirrors is what you tolerate in life. Everything you're tolerating, everything you don't like that crosses that standard and boundary, that's what your life is mirroring. That's what's actually coming to you. Now, as we wrap up this video, my friends, what's the upgrade? What's the final walk away here? Good people don't finish last. People who don't enforce boundaries, don't choose themselves, don't stay in the fire, don't make final decisions, finish last. That's probably a better way to do it. That's why in the very beginning I said, good people don't finish last, unboundaried people do. So it's not the concept is good or kind people finish last. It's people who don't have standards and boundaries and non-negotiables, people that don't have clear decisions, people who don't know exactly what they want, they finish last, my friends. And listen, the moment a good person becomes grounded, honest, and non-negotiable, everything changes. Your life will change overnight once you figure this stuff out. That's all it is. You just lose the fear of standing up for yourself. You lose the fear of upholding your standards and boundaries and non-negotiables. That's what it is. You just lose the fear of that. And once you lose that fear and that fear goes away, that's when everything changes. Other than that, tribe, as we wrap this up, one of the things when we're really talking about this stuff, this really kind of leads into identity work and stuff like that. And this is something I've done myself. The whole past year, 2025, I did a whole year of identity work. And that's really going to the root cause, why things are happening, why manifesting isn't working, why you're not getting success. So if you want to know more about that, check out the description, jump into the 30-day breakthrough challenge. That's 30 days. It's intense. It's 30 days to go to the root cause why manifesting isn't working for you. And it's going to the root cause to help you get your dream house, your dream career, your dream car, your SP. Okay, everything's wrapped in there. Once you go to the root, everything's wrapped in there, my friends. So check that out. That's in the description. Also, comment below. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. I'll try to be as proactive as I can in the comments. But other than that, remember, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.